Many lorry drivers are safe. Mile for mile, they have less crashes than car users. But worryingly, in a recent survey by the Loughborough Sleep Research Centre, almost two-thirds of drivers reported feeling sleepy at some time behind the wheel. But when disaster occurs, proving a driver has nodded off can be a challenge for the police. On the 18th of September 2006, Roger Bailey was travelling home from work on the M61.
I'm very familiar with the M61, because that was a journey from home to work for 20-odd years.
Right.
Yeah.
David Walsh was also on the M61, driving an unladen 44-ton lorry. It was the evening rush hour near Manchester. According to eyewitnesses, the lorry, which was travelling at 53 miles an hour, lost control and skidded across the central reservation into 3 lanes of oncoming traffic.
All I remember of the crash was the wagon on its side coming towards me. I remember the noise. It was a massive scraping noise, metallic noise, and debris being thrown up. And it's just in slow motion.
One of the first officers on the scene was PC Steve Dandy of Greater Manchester Police.
I've been in the police 23 years and I've been on traffic 10 years, and this is by far the worst scene I've been to. It was really total devastation. I parked my vehicle up and then we walked through the scene, myself and another officer. You knew this was a serious accident because of the amount of debris, the way the vehicles have been crushed in the impact and everything. You knew it was serious.
43-year-old Walsh had been making deliveries all afternoon, and at 6:45 in the evening, he was driving back to his depot.
I've walked through the scene, and that's when I've seen that Roger Bailey is trapped in this vehicle here. He was suffering a lot of pain because his injuries were horrendous.
After a month's stay in hospital, Roger Bailey was left with long-term injuries. A service manager in engineering, he hasn't worked since the accident.
Well, I broke my leg in a few places, my shoulder. My elbow was broken and dislocated, my arm, my ribs were broken. So basically I was sort of broke in two and crushed down my right-hand side.
Also on the motorway that evening was Lisa Dutzen's fiancé, who was heading to her house to discuss their wedding plans.
I phoned him about 5 o'clock on the way home from work, asking what he'd like for something to eat for his tea. And in his usual way was, I don't want anything to eat, just a kiss will do. By 7:30 that evening, he hadn't arrived, so I was starting to get a little bit nervous, wondering where he was.
On the hard shoulder was the remains of an LDV convoy van. That was the deceased driver had come from that vehicle.
Oh my goodness.
As I'm stood in the window waiting, the police car arrived outside the property. The police officer didn't actually speak to me. He looked at me and I just said, "Do I have to expect the worst?" And he just said yes. So I just fell to the floor.
There was no obvious mechanical defect with Walsh's lorry. His tachograph was fine and he wasn't drunk. Walsh claimed he can't remember what happened. The police were convinced he had fallen asleep, but they needed the evidence.
So how were you able to prove that you were sleeping?
It was all down to the witness statements who've put the vehicle drifting onto the hard shoulder, and then a sudden overreaction put him on the opposing carriageway. Also on the interview, Mr. Walsh, his lifestyle wasn't conducive with a goods vehicle driver.
Investigating Walsh's lifestyle and drinking habits gave them the evidence they needed.
Probably 5, sometimes 6 pints.
Per night?
After work, yeah, couple of nights, you know.
Every day?
Every day, yeah. Yeah.
And then you start to work sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning to go driving?
Yeah. But, was that a problem?
I personally wouldn't do it, and I drive as a police officer every day.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't feel safe doing that myself. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't feel safe doing that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I personally don't see any problem.
It transpired that he was having very little sleep of a night time. He was sleeping between 4 and 8 hours sleep per night, and his lifestyle was one of work, pub, going out for a meal, sleep, work, pub, going out for meals, and so forth, so on.
For how long?
On a build-up to this, yeah, quite a few days beforehand, and it seemed to be the norm for him.
To convince a jury that the crash happened because Walsh had fallen asleep, the police made a computerised reconstruction showing the lorry's path moments before impact.
He's collided with the first signs here, and then he's collided with the near side barrier, and then he's got across the carriageway, and that's where he goes over the central reservation.
So in your opinion, at what point is he asleep and what point does he wake up?
I believe he was asleep as he's drifted onto the hard shoulder, collided with this first sign. It's one of them where, bang, you're startled, you're awake, and do a big right-hand turn here. He's overcompensated when he's woke up, and that's what's put him into the opposing carriageway.
Walsh was convicted for causing death by dangerous driving and got 4.5 years behind bars. But that's little consolation for Roger Bailey and Lisa Dootson.
I don't plan anymore. I live from day to day. You know, the future would have been a great future. In the end, now it's just a lonely existence.
There's a lot made, and quite rightly so, about don't drink and drive. Because if you drink, your perception of road conditions, your reaction times are impaired. I think if you're asleep, you've got your eyes closed. I don't think your perception of driving or your reaction times are that good either. So, yeah, don't drive. When you're tired, that's it.